What are you doing, Mom?
Just trying to decide if we should buy a new house.
I got just the thing. The magic 8-ball. It says no. I have another idea. A fortune cookie. I have one more thing. Let's see what the cards are gonna say. I think that's a no.
Maybe I should just call my realtor. Should you buy a house now, or should you wait until later? Will there be a big housing bubble bursting in 2021? The answer is, who knows? And anybody who says that they do know is lying.
I'm Carol Ann Reed with The Real Deal, the place for you to go to get the confidence and the clarity that you need to make the right real estate decisions for you. Now, what are the current numbers? Well, the biggest number shocker of all. There are more realtors than there are houses for sale on the market. That's crazy. Pending home sales for April were down just a little bit, but who knows exactly why? Is it because the inventory is so low that there just aren't enough houses to sell? Or are buyers starting to get tired of having to fight tooth and nail for every offer that they submit against multiple people? Who knows? However, new loan applications are also down, which would give credence to the theory of buyer fatigue. But if that is the case, those buyers are more than likely just going to sit on the sidelines for a little while, and they'll be back eventually. And inventory is also up, mostly in the new home sector, but in existing homes as well. Millennials are still out there boosting that first-time home buyer number, with 4.3 million of them turning 30 this year, right in the prime first-time home buying age group. And those people need starter homes. However, most of the new homes that are being built a little on the higher end. With lumber prices so crazy, builders need to build higher end homes to recoup those extra costs by the high prices of lumber. So they are not building that many starter homes right now. Meanwhile, the older millennials, the ones that are hitting 40 now, and they have their family and their families are growing, so they need bigger houses. They are looking for the bigger houses. However, the baby boomers who should be moving out of those houses, baby boomers make up 48% of homeowners in America. And downsizing and making room for those older millennials to move in there, they're staying in their houses. So those older millennials are having problems finding houses to move into. So let's talk about foreclosures and forbearances. Foreclosure protections are about to run out. Pretty soon, banks are going to be able to start the foreclosure process on people, which they haven't been able to do for the last over a year. However, that process takes a really long time. So we are not going to see those houses hit the market for at least probably a year, probably into 2023. And Wells Fargo has already publicly stated that they are not even going to begin that process until 2022. And forbearances are starting to tick down, which is good news. There are people who are leaving the forbearance status and not as many people signing up for it, even though they still have a little time to do so. But the really good news is that only 7% so far of those people exiting forbearance are having to either sell their house or go into foreclosure. So 93% of people who were in a forbearance status are coming out just fine. So that's where the numbers are right now. But what about the rest of 2021? What does the future bring? Well, let's look at some future numbers. Let's start with the future of mortgage rates. Right now, they are still pretty low. They've been kind of waffling a little bit lately, but right now they are still pretty low. However, the feds have this program going on where every month they are buying $40 billion in mortgage-backed securities, which is funneling money into the banks. But they are talking about tapering that program off. And if that happens, the banks are more than likely going to start raising their rates a little bit to make up for that lost income. So when that tapering does begin, watch for those rates to start ticking up just a little bit. But I think the biggest future driver is going to be whatever happens with the inflation rate. Now remember, inflation is too many dollars chasing too few goods. So we have too many dollars. The feds have actually been injecting cash into the system since about 2008. But in 2020, that totally went on steroids. And we have too few goods. There's a couple of reasons for that. One being the pandemic. There are companies that had to shut down for a while, and so they're having problems restarting and getting that supply line going again. But also there is a global computer chip shortage. So everything has a computer chip now, and nobody can get one. That is causing huge supply chain problems. And those shortages include furniture and refrigerators. So if you don't have a fridge and you don't have a couch, how can you kick back and have a cold one? Not to mention having all of those extra dollars around and cheap borrowing, i.e. low interest rates, makes it really easy to overspend on items like housing, which is part of the reason that the prices have been going up so high in the housing market. Now, the feds say that the inflation that we are seeing right now is transitory. That means it is temporary. It's only going to last for a few months. There are plenty of people, however, out there saying that it is not transitory, that this is permanent and probably is going to get worse. Now, we are just going to have to sit back and wait for a few months to find out whether it's going to stick around or not. If the feds are right and this is a temporary situation, then we should see prices stabilize probably sometime in the fall. However, if they are wrong and we are in for long-term inflation, then the feds are going to have to raise the interest rate, even though they said they weren't going to do so, to make sure that they slow the market and they slow those rising prices. And that certainly will slow the housing market and make housing prices fall. You may have heard of something called the rule of 10x when it comes to real estate, which is for every percentage point that the mortgage interest rate goes up, prices in the housing market fall by 10%. So if those rates do tick up, surely the market is going to slow down. However, that does not mean that the prices are necessarily going to fall. If we do have that buyer fatigue that we talked about, once that market starts to soften, those buyers are going to start to creep back in, keeping it steady. Not to mention the fact that one of the things that we have learned through this whole pandemic, a pandemic revelation, is that we can work from home. There's a whole lot of people now who are looking, who already have and are looking to move out to the burbs into bigger houses that have home offices because they can work there instead. That has brought the value of housing up, not just inflationary, not just a housing bubble. The actual value of housing is rising. So in my opinion, we are not going to have a crash this year. First of all, supply is going to stay low. Forbearances and foreclosures are not going to add supply to the market in any great way. So the demand out there is still going to stay pretty high. And even if rates do tick up a little bit and the market slows down a little bit, I think that the actual increase in value in the market and inflation itself is going to keep those prices steady and for sure keep them from plummeting. So should you buy? Or should you wait? Let's talk about waiting. And there's a few reasons that you might want to do that. First of all, FOMO is a real thing. Fear of missing out. So if you are looking for a house in this market, it is really easy to get caught up in the excitement and try to start bidding on houses just so you can get something. And you may end up compromising on some of the things that you really need. And houses are really hard to get right now. It is not uncommon to be in multiple offers against many different people. and usually going over asking price. Not to mention that the government is talking about introducing some new incentives for first-time home buyers. And if you just sit back and save your money for a while, you will have more leverage when you do find that home that you really like and need. But there are equally good reasons to buy one now. First of all, those rates may inch up. And if that happens, that is going to decrease your buying power. You will get less of a home for the same amount of money. Not to mention that one of the reasons that people buy houses to begin with is to get that equity over time. So the sooner that you get into the market, the more time that equity will have to grow. And then there is that big question of inflation. If inflation goes up, your buying power goes down. So the answer to the question of whether you should buy now or whether you should wait is, I can't answer that question. It's all going to depend on you and your personal situation. If you like this kind of content, feel free to go right over here and hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching. See you next time.